Hello and welcome to the latest episode of JRock's Babylon News for February the 5th, 2026. Okay, now let's get into some major news stories today that we have to report. Now, Sharon Osbourne is in talks with Live Nation about the possibility of bringing the Ozfest back. Now, wouldn't that be cool? Now, of course, you say, well, how the hell are they going to have Ozfest without Ozzy? Well, I think it's going to obviously be an event very much in honor of Ozzy, very much paying tribute to the late and great Ozzy Osbourne. When Ozfest launched, several years ago, it was a great opportunity for both classic bands and new bands to kind of get on the stage, at an American music festival. A lot of the big music festivals were primarily done in Europe for many years. But when they launched Ozfest, that was the first kind of major music festival to take place in the United States. And then, once you had Ozfest, you had other things like Rocklahoma and the Monsters of Rock shows pop up here in America. So I really hope that Sharon does bring back Ozfest, and who knows? I'm sure they'll have a lot of great bands wanting to take part in the Ozfest. Because again, now that Ozzy has passed, Ozfest has taken on an all new meaning. It'll be much more of a celebratory thing in honor of Ozzy, but very much like when they launched Ozfest, the whole idea was to, give a lot of these new bands, a place to kind of, get a chance to play for massive crowds. And so I think they're going to very much, Sharon's able to, talk to Live Nation and they come to some kind of agreement. And the Ozfest is relaunched. Probably maybe won't happen till 2027. Who knows? But I'm very excited at the possibility that Ozfest is going to come back, and I can't wait. When it does, to see who are some of the first bands that'll be announced as far as taking part, and that'll be a pretty special event. When they haven't had Ozfest in several years now, to bring it back, and especially now that Ozzy's no longer here with us, it'll be a totally different type of event. But I believe it's going to become a major force to be reckoned with, like it once was. So I'm the possibility of Ozfest come back, man. I'm pretty excited. I can't wait to see, and we'll be reporting on that here at JRock's Babylon News the minute it is announced. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and make any predictions that Ozfest is coming back this year, because as most people know, to plan a major kind of event like that, and they got to decide, is Ozfest just going to take part in one spot? Is it going to be a touring event? Who knows? So there's a lot of things to kind of think about. But again, when the time comes and something is announced, we will be reported here, so stay tuned, as they say, folks. Now, also, now while we're on the subject of talking about, Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy, and, I should also note that also Black Sabbath, we have some news to report. Okay, Black Sabbath now released their first greatest hits collection, which was We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll on February 3rd, 1975. The album turns 50 years old this year. Can you believe it? Again, I mean, Black Sabbath is, when we talk about heavy metal, hard rock, especially metal, most people will say Tony Iommi is referred to as a riff master because of the way he plays a guitar, having lost the tip of his fingers. And that has a lot to do with him playing the way he does. But, the recent passing of Ozzy, we just talked about, possibility of Ozfest coming back. And again, most people will say that Black Sabbath should be credited with kind of creating a whole new genre of music. And I think rightfully so. And it's interesting that 50 years ago, Black Sabbath released their very first greatest hits collection. We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. Now, the album features music, of course, from the Ozzy Osbourne era of the band. By 1975, Black Sabbath had released 6 studio albums. and there was growing tension within the band, um, and many of the band members were, struggling with their drug addictions and other things going on in their life, and and so there's also a little bit of pressure being pressed the band's way from both the record label and their management team. And Warner Brothers Records pushed for a greatest hits collection to keep the product, keep new product out there. Keep product flowing until the next studio album, and cash in on Black Sabbath's growing popularity. Well, I think they knew. I think both the management and the record companies were so right on what they were doing, because you know what, 50 years later, we're still talking about Black Sabbath and their first greatest hits collection. We sold our soul for rock and roll. And of course, 50 years later, after this album comes out, I mean, Black Sabbath is now at a point in their career where, Ozzy Osbourne passed away last summer. They did the final, Ozzy/Sabbath concert at the Back to the Beginning event, which was Ozzy's final performance, of course. And so as Sabbath's career is coming to an end, and what a very long career it's been, over 50 years. And Sabbath has endured many lineups. Probably the most famous, of course, would be the Ozzy and the Ronnie James Dio fronted eras of Black Sabbath. You've had many people in the ranks of Black Sabbath, but the original four, of course, are Ozzy Osbourne, Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, Bill Ward. And up until Ozzy's death, the original four were still very strong and going. Now with the passing of Ozzy, the other three are still around, and they're kind of carrying the Black Sabbath flag. And interestingly enough, just yesterday it was announced that this is the way I read the article on the internet. It said that the Black Sabbath offshoot, Heaven and Hell, of course, which is really the Ronnie James Dio version of Black Sabbath. But once final time Sabbath got back together with Ronnie, because of an agreement made with Sharon and Ozzy, they could only refer to Black Sabbath as Ozzy, when talking about Ozzy, Geezer, Tony, and Bill Ward. So even though the band was really Black Sabbath, at the time led by Ronnie James Dio, they had to call it Heaven and Hell for business purposes, for legal reasons. But myself and many other people still thought of it as Black Sabbath. I'm bringing this all up because just yesterday, I said, it was announced that coming March 27th, there's going to be a new Heaven and Hell box set. Wow. And we're just getting the details. So probably in our next news report, we'll be talking a little more about this. But as a Black Sabbath fan, and I'm a fan of all eras of Black Sabbath. Got to admit, probably my favorite era is indeed the Ronnie James Dio era. So I'll probably be getting the new box set, myself. And so what I do, I'll let you know all about it and what my thoughts are on it. And so the album peaked, get this, and this is the greatest hits collection. The album, We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll, peaked at number 48 on the Billboard Top 200 chart. Now that's pretty amazing for a greatest hits collection, So now let's get into some more breaking news this week. And there's so much of it, folks. I can't believe all the stuff we have to talk about. Skid Row bassist Rachel Bolan has just announced that on June 12th, he will release his very first solo album, and it will be titled Gargoyle of the Garden State. Now, the Garden State, of course, being that Skid Row and Rachel come from New Jersey. They call New Jersey the Garden State, so I guess that's in reference to his home state. But man, what a tongue twister that is! Try to say a title of that album 3 times. You know what I mean? And the album, Rachel reports, is going to feature guest appearances from all his current Skid Row band members. It's also going to feature guest appearances from Extreme Guitarist, Nuno Betancourt, Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Um, so that's something to very much look forward to. And also just breaking, folks, today. And I'm glad I waited a day to do this news report because so much news is breaking today. And also related to Skid Row, it was just announced today, folks, that Skid Row's been without a lead singer for the last 2 years. Well, they've decided this time they're going to launch a worldwide search for a new lead singer. It's a type thing where people are going to be able to send in videotapes and submit different types of performances. So the details are very sketchy, but again, this is they're hoping people will send in performances, clips, and when we have more details, we can tell you. But they're really hoping because the one thing that's been very interesting about Skid Row is they've had. I mean, I've lost track of how many singers they've had. Of course, Sebastian Bach is all-time favorite for most fans, but the guys at Skid Row have been pretty open about their dislike for Sebastian, and they've all gone on record saying they don't like the guy, they don't want to be in a band with him, and so I think there's very little chance that Sebastian will ever reunite with Skid Row. And it's just these guys would rather have fun, enjoy what they're doing, than be in a band with the guy they don't like. Makes sense to me. And the last singer was Eric Ronwell. He did a great job on the band's last album, The Gang's All Here. He kicked some major ass. I think it was their best album in years, and a lot of people went out about that. It got huge response, and it's very sad that things with Eric didn't work out. I'm not exactly 100% sure why he left the band, but it had a little to do with the fact that he's a recovering cancer patient. He's had some health issues, and but he's out there working on a solo album of his own, I hear. So we'll see what becomes of that. They're very, very interesting, Now, any Kiss fans out there? Because Kiss's "I Was Made for Loving You." I always loved that song. There's been some controversy about it over years because people refer to it as Kiss's disco song. Maybe they're taking trying to see if they could have a disco song or anything like that. It was that was really big at the time. Also, shortly after that, Queen the following year released their disco song, Another One Bites the Dust. So there's among Kiss fans, there's always been the big controversy, which is a more popular song, "I Was Made for Loving You" or "Beth." I mean, I don't really see, except they're both Kiss songs, I don't see kind of the comparison because I really don't see "I Was Made for Loving You" as a ballad or anything. It is very much a disco or a disco type of rock song, So they were trying something different, but again, that seems to be a very popular tune among Kiss fans, the most streamed Kiss song. And again, the music video that they put out in 1979, which they called a promo clip, back then. You can go on YouTube, but the video for that they released in 1979, it recently passed the 1 billion mark. So way to go, Kiss, Wow. Also, kind of Kiss-related news, I should report to you guys that there was a new music video released this week from Stanley and Simmons. And that's, of course, the new dynamic or rock duo of Nick Simmons and Evan Stanley. Of course, they call themselves the Sons of Kiss, of course, because their dads, of course, are Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. And man, I'm just loving both the video and the song from the band's first single, "Body Down." And I'm just, loving it, folks. I love the sound. We've only heard one, song so far. But I urge you guys to follow Stanley and Simmons on Facebook. They're always posting these little clips of themselves performing. Anytime they do an interview or anything, they post it on the Facebook page. So check it out and support these guys. And yes, you know what? I am a huge diehard Kiss fan, as all you know. So of course, years ago, when Gene had his show, Gene Simmons Family Jewels, that's where most people first came to know Nick Simmons, and Nick, I think, and Evan are they're equally as talented as their dads. And here's the amazing thing: if anybody thinks these guys are going to be hit simply because of their Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley's son, they got a lot more than just a name going for them, folks. They got something that's called talent. And yes, I get it. I'm only basing it on one song so far, but and let's talk about the song "Body Down," okay? It's got a real kind of 1960s kind of Americana rock vibe. A lot of people kind of describe it as, sounding a little bit like Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I get that, and I think Nick and Evan, they're trying to create their own thing. They're not trying to be the next Kiss 2.0 volume. They're doing their own thing as they should. Because I think if they were a band and they slapped on makeup trying to look like their dads or recreate what their dads did, people would rip them apart. But these guys are both equally talented, and I'll tell you, the one thing I love about the song "Body Down" is the way their voices gel so well together. I mean, I cannot. Apparently, they're working on a new full-length album that's supposed to come out later this year. That album cannot come out soon enough for me, folks. But I can't wait to see and listen to the debut album by these guys. I mean, I just know it's going to kick ass. Okay, now also, a lot of news going on with Ricky Rocket and Poison. Well, Ricky Rocket, as you know, has a solo project called Rocket Mafia, and a couple of weeks ago we reported on the fact that Rocket Mafia is going to go out this summer since Poison's not going to, and they're going to play the debut Poison album, "Look What the Cat Dragged In its entirety. Now, when Rocket Mafia first premiered, last year, Mick Sweda from the Bullet Boys was a guitar player in the band. But Mick Sweda recently announced that he is leaving the Rocket Mafia to concentrate full time on the Bullet Boys reunion. And the Bullet Boys have recently been discussing possibly doing an album together. So there may be that down the line. But Mick is really happy since he's been back with the Bullet Boys, and they're really getting along. And for the first time in years, and he's really excited about being back with the Bullet Boys and doing that full time. And now we bring this all up because now the big question is, okay, now that Mick Sweda is no longer with Rocket Mafia, who's going to play guitar for the Rocket Mafia? Well, I got it right here, folks. And you're not going to believe it. Oh, man, I've interviewed this guy a couple times over here. Super nice, friendly guy. And the new guitar player in the Rocket Mafia is none other than ex-LA Guns guitarist Stacey Blades. Wow, Stacey, I can't wait to see what you do with Rocket Mafia, and I think you're a perfect fit for the band. Losing Mick Sweda was a huge loss for the band, but I think fans are going to be very accepting of Stacey Blades. I mean, I got to tell you, Stacey, yeah, he was in LA Guns. He was previously in Rock's Gang before that. But he's been quiet the last few years. But I know he's been keeping busy. And the one thing I got to tell people about Stacey, as great of a guitar player as Stacey is, he's a super talented songwriter. He posted many of his songs, on YouTube. You can go check out. But Stacey, I think, is going to really be a great fit for the Rocket Mafia. So Stacey, welcome to the Rocket Mafia, and I can't wait to see what you do. And hey, Stacey, if you ever want to come and do an interview with me, in fact, I may be reaching out to you in the near future, my friend, just to see if you'd be interested in that. Okay, now I got to do this, folks, because today is February 5th. Now, so we got to remember original Slaughter guitarist Tim Kelly today, on February 5th, which marks the 28th anniversary of Tim's passing. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell all you Slaughter fans out there that, man, I remember reading about Tim's death, in 1998 when it happened in Metal Edge magazine. Reading, in the Metal Wire section where it had all these heavy metal happening, the things going on in the metal world, and pretty long report in there. I remember where basically given the sad details how Tim Kelly was killed in a head-on collision on an Arizona highway by a drunk driver. And I urge you guys to go online and research the story. But sad thing, like I said, Tim Kelly tragically died at the young age of 35, I believe he was. He was in a head-on collision, like I said, on an Arizona highway, killed by a drunk driver. And the most maddening thing is, I mean, is the guy only spent 3 years in prison for killing Tim Kelly. To me, Tim's life was worth so much more. Where's the justice in that? And okay, um, maybe one of maybe some people out there feel for a guy. Oh, he's got to live with the fact that he killed somebody. Well, I don't know what the situation was. Maybe he should have not been drinking and driving that night. Because that's what happens. And not to be judgmental here, folks, but for people that drink and drive, you really got to think about what you're doing, because you're not only endangering your lives, but you're endangering the lives of others. But getting back to Tim Kelly and Slaughter, I remember in 1990 when Slaughter was breaking, I saw Slaughter like a lot of people on the Honda Shade Tour, Kiss's Honda Shade Tour. They were opening up for Kiss, and I seen them at the Long Beach Arena, and man, Stick It To You. That's the band's debut album, man. That's still my favorite album by the band. I love everything Slaughter did, but I also my two favorite albums I think by Slaughter got to be the debut album, Stick It To You, my all-time favorite. Like a lot of fans will tell you that. And then the final studio album, Tim, Revolution. In regards to Revolution, very underrated album. People should check it out. I really love the single that was off of that album, American Pie. No, it's not Don McLean's American Pie. It's a different Slaughter original tune. So go check it out. The rest of the album really kicks ass, but very underrated. And of course, about a year or so after Tim died, Slaughter put out their live album, Eternal Live, and it featured kind of if you look at the album cover, it was very much in tribute to Tim Kelly, and they dedicated that album to Tim Kelly. And Mark Slaughter has gone on the record over years as saying that since Tim's passing, the song "Flight of the Angels" has taken on a new meaning. They will often play that song in concert in tribute to Tim. So again, 28 years later, let's remember Tim Kelly. And finally today, folks, the final bit of news. Twisted Sister fans were very excited at the announcement a couple of weeks back that Twisted Sister was getting back together. They're going on a 50th anniversary tour. Sadly, the tour has been canceled. You ask why? Well, apparently, Dee Snider has been over the last couple of years, and he's just kind of making this known to the public. But one of the things is he's been dealing with serious, painful arthritis. He's had surgeries for. He's been trying to be treated for. But arthritis is just kind of one thing that he's been dealing with. It also goes on to say that Dee's dealing with some serious heart issues, and his doctors have advised him that he needs to slow down. The doctors did not advise that he should carry on with live performing. So Twisted Sister statement basically says that, and Dee's put out a separate statement, but basically that because of Dee's health issues, Dee has decided to resign from Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister, which now basically is Eddie Ojeda and JJ French, they put out their own joint statement saying that, in the next few weeks, there will be a decision made about the future of Twisted Sister. I think it's safe to say that I really don't see JJ and Eddie. Who knows? But I don't really think JJ and Eddie would go out with Dee because let's be honest, Dee Snider is Twisted Sister, and you could get somebody that's pretty good singer in there, but they're not going to be Dee Snider. Um, and I think it'd be a real huge mistake to try to replace Dee Snider. Mark Mendoza wasn't going to take part in the reunion. He's got apparently there's some bad blood between him and Dee Snider. And then of course AJ Pero, the drummer, he died a number of years ago, and so to carry on with just two of the original members of Twisted Sister, I don't think would make a lot of sense. So, man, it looks like Twisted Sister's finally going to call it a day. May they rest in peace. But I want to I wish Dee Snider. First of all, I want to thank you and Twisted Sister for rocking my world for man for my whole existence. Man, you guys were really a big part of my life, and hate to see Twisted Sister go, but I think Dee's right that if you can't do it anymore, you just can't do it, and your health has to come first. So, wow, folks, this has been we've been just a jam-packed news report today. So thanks for checking out the latest episode of JRock's Babylon News. I really enjoy doing these newscasts, and I just think that each episode we do gets better and better. So take care. Thanks for checking this out, and be sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and our Facebook page, because that's the only way you guys are going to be, notified every time we put up an episode. So thanks again for checking us out, and take care. You'll be seeing us again real soon. Bye for now.